Hello and welcome to the second video in our case study of minimal modeling for WordPress 6. In the first video, we started modeling the WordPress database, and we created a number of entries in our tables. We created two anchors, defined two anchors, a few attributes, and one link. Today we are going to continue with this, and let's take a look at some other columns in the posts table. So we talked about post date GMT last time, and it's not clear for now what it means, so let's skip it. The next thing is post excerpt. So we know that if we look at the editing interface of WordPress, you can see that there is an excerpt field where I can write anything. Yes, excerpt. Now we can update it. And now let's take a look at the database. Select ID post excerpt from WP posts. Right. So again, we see this mysterious duplication of posts. And we see that in our post number 5, right, that we see here, we have the excerpt that we just entered. So let's write that down. We go to attributes. We have post excerpt. The anchor is post. The type is the text. The physical location is select ID post excerpt from WP posts. What is the user provided excerpt of this post? Cool. Remove this field from view, and let's take a look at the post status field. So let's see what kind of data is there. So we have, it seems that this is the kind of a field that can contain a limited number of values, like enum. There is also this data type in MySQL, but here the developers chose to use a small varchar field, like with 20 fields, 20 columns, 20 characters. What do those statuses mean? That's an interesting question. So let's write down what we know. We know that this is enum. We don't know what's inside, and we can copy paste this post status. What is the status of this post? Okay, so we'd like to understand what is the full complete set of possible values, and what do those values mean. We can probably deduce that draft is something unpublished, and publish is probably something that the post is published, and we know that our post number 5 is actually published, so we can confirm that we have this visibility thing in the editor, by public private password protected. Anyway, what we see here is let's take a look at the official database description, right? So we go to WP posts, we see the post status, and there is no documentation. We only see the default value, which is publish. Okay, let's Google. So we can find an article about post status on official WordPress website. Posts can have one of a number of statuses. The status determines how WordPress handles the post. Right. There are 8 major post statuses that WordPress uses by default: publish, future, draft, pending, private, trash, auto draft, and inherit, used with the child post to determine the actual status. All right. So we can publish, future, draft, pending. So we can do it like this: publish, future, draft, pending, private, trash, auto draft, private, trash, auto draft, and inherit. We can also refer for the description of statuses. Cool. Next is comment status. Again, we see that this is a small string, and we see that it's open and closed. I wonder if there are any more possible values here. Set comment status. Either hold. No, is this what we want? Hold, approve, spam, or trash. Maybe this is a different status, because probably if we look at the comments table, we can see some other field, like maybe comment approved. I don't know. Anyway, looks like let's try to find comment status. WP posts. Okay. Okay, anyway. We can solve that completely, like separately. For now, let's just write down what we know. So we have post __ comment status. We have a post anchor. We have an enum that says open or closed. Open, closed. We have the comment status. What's the question here? Could this post be commented? Or I would say Yeah. Okay, let's leave it like this. Because so it's an interesting question. So if there are really only two statuses here, open and closed, then we can treat this field as a Boolean field, treat this attribute as a Boolean attribute, and we could say like this question makes total sense because it's going to be true or false. Um, uh, but for now, let's leave it like this. Let me just show you how it's going to look if we decide to make it Boolean. If there are some other possible values for this column, then it means that we cannot make it Boolean. So let's make a duplicate version 2 post. Here we have Boolean, and then so what we want to have is a list of Boolean values for each ID. So select ID comment status from WP posts. So we want to have something like comment status equal open. Right. And that's how we get the Boolean values from this attribute. So one important thing here is that the logical type of the attribute could be completely different from the physical type of the table. And we shouldn't, well, we can keep it as different as we want if we I don't know, if we think that this is a better representation. So especially this is true for enum fields and for Boolean fields, because there are many cases when a Boolean field becomes like gets an additional value, like you have, I don't know, approved, not approved, and then you suddenly like the business process changes and you get a third value like pending, I don't know. So this this kind of situation where you have enum and Boolean kind of competing for the type of the attribute is, in my experience, pretty typical. So let's treat it like Boolean. Actually, yeah, let's delete this until we get further information about this, if we have further data about this column. Great. So comment status. What we have is next we see that there is a number of columns related to pinging. So you have ping status, to ping, and pinged. Let's just take a look at what's inside, but then probably skip it. Pin status to pin and pinned. Right. Let's keep it for now because like that's just attributes that are needed for some kind of a business process of pinging the feed aggregators when you post when you create a new post. So let's take a look at something more interesting. Post type, interesting. Page post revision WP global styles. Again, it's not documented in on the official page. We have some kind of reference which are completely reserved post types. The following post types are reserved and are already used by WordPress. Post page attachment revision, post page revision, WP. I don't see any global. More information, post types. Oh, right. Pages, attachments, revisions, menus, custom CSS, change sets, custom post types. Okay, let's not get into that too deep. Post type, post enum, select ID, post type, double posts. um, we can remove post type. Okay, so let's take a look at this field called comment count. We see that most of the posts or pages have 0, and for post 5 and 1, we see them that there is one comment. And yeah, I've actually left a comment on this second post that is ID 5, so that makes sense. But here, this particular field is not an attribute in sense of minimal modeling. The reason is that this field is a derived data. It's actually updated automatically every time when you add a new comment or delete the comment. So in principle, we can get rid of this field, and if we want to find out the number of comments in for a certain post, we can just do select count from comments where post ID equals something, right? This field was created for speed, because of course you can for many in many cases you want to quickly show how many comments are exist for a certain post, but we don't treat it as an attribute. Instead, we treat it as a secondary data. So we see w posts dot comment count. Right. We show that this is the field that we are talking about. We write down the kind of a query that is probably used for if we wanted to regenerate the value of this column, because an important thing here, of course, is that we can kind of lose the values in those secondary columns, and we can easily reconstruct it from our database by just updating this field with recalculated numbers. So select count star from WP comments where equals something. The category here is a calculated attribute. So in you can see the list of different types of secondary data that we have found so far while we were modeling Mokum. So we need to remove the comment count from here. Let's go to the comments part. So we have a comments table. We see that it has the primary key comment ID. It's not null and auto increment, and that probably means that, most certainly means that this is an anchor. So let's create another anchor. Select comment ID from WP comments. It's interesting. We can see that there is no uniformity in the names of the columns. ID type is begin. If exists, then there is a comment. Posts and comments are such a typical example of this kind of data. So we kind of know that there are going to be two links. One is user wrote a comment, and another is that post has comments, or if you say that in a different direction, I don't know, comment was I'm not even sure how to say that so that it would not sound awkward. Anyway, let's comment is authored by user. First anchor is comment. Second anchor is user. The query is select comment ID, user ID from WP comments. And the cardinality is 1 to n, I think, because one user can write multiple comments, of course. Nice. And the second link that we know exists is post contains comments. And the first anchor is post, and the second anchor is comment. And the query is select comment post ID, comment ID from WP comments. And the cardinality is also 1 to n, because a single post can contain multiple comments, and the comment can only belong to a single post. Nice. So we can remove those kind of IDs from this to mark that we kind of handled this this part. By the way, let's take a look at the data. Interesting. So we have only one user, my user, and we see that in this table we see the user ID equals 0. So probably we can, let's look at this first post. Hello world. I'm not sure how it handles this, because if I understand correctly, this needs to be right, no, a WordPress commenter. Comment number 1, right? Yeah, comment ID is 1 and the user ID is 0. It's possible that we can leave them anonymous responses, right? So anonymous response number 2. Save my name, email for the next time I comment. Post comment. All right. Let's again take a look. At the data. It's more like it's more interesting. So you can have anonymous comments, and that means that we must change this query and add where user ID not equal 0. And we write down this thing that confused us in the beginning, and now that we found out how it actually works, we can we have a place to write that knowledge down, so that it's actually documented, so that the next person who uses this table will not have to rediscover that again. Nice. But now, right now we can see, we can probably see this information about data, information about the comment author in the fields that are surprisingly kind of comment author email, and so on. Let's take a look at comment author. So we see that SQ with user ID equals 1 is the same user login as exists in the users table. And we see that comment author contains whatever was entered by the user in the comment form. So, and another thing is that we can test the email. So let's see comment author email. Right. So I've entered my the same email as I entered for the registration of my normal WordPress user. So it's not that interesting. But we can now see that we have comment author, I would say name, because author sounds surprisingly sounds like an anchor. We know that it's tiny text. That's an interesting choice. Why not varchar? And we have select comment ID author, comment author from WP comments. Okay. What is the name of the commenter? Comments could be left by anonymous users. And we do the same with the comment or author email. Duplicate. No, why? Nah, why? Comment author email. The type is varchar 100. Okay. And the comment author email. So here we have an interesting case of something that may look like the data duplication. So we see that my name and that's even probably display name of my user, right? And my email is duplicated here when I left the comment. So, and this, for the anonymous comments, this data is the primary, right? Whatever user entered, this was recorded when the comment was created. So what would happen if I'm going to change my display name and or my email? I think that most probably WordPress is just going to change my display name in my users in the users table, and the next time I leave another comment as a logged in user, the comment author and comment author email are going to contain my new name and email, and the previous, like basically this string for comment ID 2 is going to stay the same, even though I'm going to be changing my permanent display name. Let's maybe let's discuss this in one of the following videos, because this is an interesting question. We understand that it was probably done for kind of simplicity of the data and of probably of querying the data, because otherwise you would, so now to render the comments page, you just do select star from WP comments and you have everything. It's pretty efficient, but of course you pay an extra price for storing all the data repeatedly. So if I'm going to leave 1,000 comments, my name and email are going to be stored 1,000 times, right? So we could design the schema in such a way that it would only store the name and email for anonymous users and would not store anything for except for the ID, user ID, for normal users. But let's go on. We have another something author URL. Wait, comment author URL. This is just another attribute that we can quickly write down for completeness. The type is varchar 200 comment author URL. What is the home page URL on the commenter? Nice. What we see here is there is this comment parent column. So in a sense, like what's more interesting, attributes or links? So anchors are very fundamental, so they are not like interesting in a sense. They just have to be there, have to define them, because everything else depends on those. But like, how do we want to continue this this discussion, right? So shall we focus on attributes, or should we focus on links? That's an interesting question, and I think that we now think that links are more useful to show the kind of the structure of the data, how of different so to say business processes that happen in the database. Like in our case, of course, the business process is very simple. User comments the post, whatever. That's why we're interested in everything that looks like in the fields that look like part of the link. So let's look at the comment parent thing. So remove all of this, comment ID, comment parent. Right. So comment parent equals 0 probably means that this is a top level comment, right? So let's respond logged in. All right. This would be a parent. Right. Let's see what happened in data. Yes, we see that my comment number 4 now has comment number 3 as the parent. So let's now write it down as the link. So we have a link comment as another comment. Okay, comment is a parent of another comment. This is always a hassle to find the sentence that doesn't sound strange. So both anchors are the same, and we can do so. First is a parent, and the second is a child. So we can do comment parent, comment ID, and not the other way around from WP comments, where comment parent not equal 0. Right. And the cardinality here is 1 to n, because one comment can be a parent to multiple comments, and one comment can have only one comment as a parent. This is tedious but necessary. So here the developers of WordPress chose this approach with sentinel value. So they have they use a non-existing ID of 0 for to mark the top level comments, right? Another way how they could actually approach that would be creating a separate table with just 2 columns, parent comment ID and the child comment ID, and then only when the comment is actually the child comment, then there would be a row in this small table, right? But they decided to go the easier way. So let's now remove the mention of comment. And by the way, there is a key on comment author email. Wow, interesting. So, comment type. Wow. Okay, comment. What other? Types of comment could there be? Get comment type. Comment with references, books related. Change log. Type. Okay, we don't really. The type of comment, such as comment, pingback, or trackback. Okay, that makes sense. So let's write it down as an attribute. Comment type anchor is comment, and the type is comment, pingback, and trackback. Comment, pingback, trackback. Right. Select comment ID. Comment type from WP. Nice. Nice. What is the type of this comment? Was it? Is there any more useful documentation here? Okay. Let's write down whatever we have here. Like, remove that. Okay, so back to posts. We also can see that there is the post parent here. So let's take a look from WP posts. Yeah, we see that for my post number 5, there are 3 parent posts, which probably could be explained by the post type and the post status. Post type, post status. Right, so we have a revision of, so 7 is the revision of a post 5. Here we have another interesting case that we would not be modeling in detail at the moment, but in principle, so we see that like there are all those posts, post types look like as very different entities. Okay, maybe post and page are something very similar, but I'm not sure if you can comment the page on the in WordPress. But revision probably is something that that is like very technical. I mean, like it's the normal user of the website of our WordPress site would not be able to to communicate with it. There will be no comments, and probably a lot of fields don't really make sense for this kind. And we can be pretty sure that WP global styles is something really really unique. And so at this it may be so that we actually would want to create a special anchor and call it, I don't even know how, like WP global style maybe. And then we can and then its IDs would be select ID from W posts where post type equals this. And then we would need to change the definition of the post anchor and add here something like where post type in post, maybe page, I don't know. We won't go discuss this in detail now, because also partly because this needs more understanding of WordPress as the product, and this needs more understanding of what you want from this data. Like, do you want to work with these global styles or whatever separately? Like how many of those could there be? Maybe it's if it's global, then maybe there would only be a single row in this special single row in this table, but we don't know that. So, but often when you begin investigating this kind of enum values, you may find interesting areas of your business domain that were kind of hidden behind this idea of, like, we have this entity and it can have one of a number of types. But then you find out that actually maybe you should have really created more tables in the first place. Like maybe you not only you want to have WP posts table, but you also want to have WP pages table and WP global styles table and the WP revisions table, because this would make I'm pretty sure, yeah, for revisions, I'm pretty sure that we can actually create the anchor called revision, and we can create links like post has multiple revisions, and then things are going to become much more clear from the point of view of business processes that happen here. But we won't be doing that just now. Maybe we will improve this model later. So again, enums and sometimes booleans, because they also could be treated like considered kind of enums with two values. They are often hide something interesting. So I think that actually we could stop here. What's next? There is a number of pretty straightforward attributes that we won't going to be discussing in the next video. I will probably just write them down unless there is something interesting hiding in one of those attributes. So we're going to look so the same for comments. Then we'll probably take a look at links. But if I remember WordPress correctly, this is also something pretty straightforward. It's just something that you put somewhere. After, yeah, the same for posts. One thing where I can see some interesting relationships is going to be those tables WP term taxonomy, WP terms, and WP term relationships. We'll probably discuss that next time. And then one thing that kind of had some interest in for viewers of the first video is those tables that end in meta, WP comment meta, post meta, and term meta, and user meta. Yeah. In minimal modeling, we will treat those tables in a probably surprising way, but we're going to talk about that next time. So thank you for listening, and we're going to continue in the third video in a few days. Thank you. Ciao.